Okay, what's up YouTube? This is Vitamin R. I am showing you my Honeybadger monk build. So we've got Smoku set, just showing you that the stuff's not modded. Gungo gear with 20% cold damage on there. Ring of Royal Grandeur, Zodiac Ring, whatever you put there doesn't really matter. You might go Stone or Jordan, I probably should have. But the main point is to have good stats, crit damage. You want attack speed, crit hit chance, stuff like that. You're not going to need any defensive stats in this build whatsoever, so if you could get anything without vitality on it or without things like that. I mean, vitality might be useful at times, but we've got the near-death experience to pretty much keep us as a safety net, and we're going to be chaining Serenity the whole time, so you're basically invincible with this build except for the times when you forget to hit the X button or whatever, or hit the button for Serenity, and so which will happen, and you will die. So you're not really invincible, but you're pretty, I mean, effectively invincible. And so because you're invincible, you don't need defensive stats, you don't really need any of this other crap. What you want is near-death experience to save you from dying, and we're going with the stat that gives you bonus damage against enemies that are blind or frozen, and also the one that and also momentum. So that's basically 40% damage that you're going to almost always have because we're going to be chaining blinding flash as well. Note that we have no spirit regeneration per second here, but that's because we're using Epiphany, the Epiphany that gives you 45 per second. So we can effectively run Tempest Rush at an extremely high attack speed with dual wielding and not have to worry about running out of spirit. And that's critical because with Flurry you want to build up those flurries as fast as possible so that you can release them and pop the exploding palm guys. And then we're using exploding palm, the flesh is weak because it's got 20%, enemies hit by it take 20% more damage. And another nice thing about Epiphany is it teleports you to your enemy, and so that you can hit them. This is obviously extremely useful in Greater Rifts because you can teleport around. Now, the other thing we've got on here is Dashing Strike Quicksilver. The reason for Quicksilver is because you get 3 instead of 2 Dashing Strikes, and with the cooldown rate that we've effectively got, that means you have basically infinite Dashing Strikes, which is mainly there for getting around inside of the Greater Rift because sometimes you get lost or you need to teleport through walls, and it makes getting through the rift a lot faster. Greater Rifts are a race. You need to be fast. This build is all about speed. It's about attack speed. It's about speed and killing large groups of enemies, as you can see there. It's about being able to deliver extremely massive amounts of damage in a very, very short amount of time. You can easily crit for 1, 2, 3 billion with this build, and you're going to need it because in the higher Greater Rifts, the things have, you know, hundreds of billions of hit points at the point of the Rift Guardian. So, you know, and as you can see here, there was a 1.7 billion. As you can see here, we're you know, just clearing out these mobs, basically put Exploding Palm on there, then flurry them a little bit, blind them, pop the flurry by tapping the button for Exploding Palm but not holding it down so that you don't have to break your flurry, and that'll release your stack, and you can basically keep flurrying. Now of course we're using the Taeguk gem, that is I think I had it at level 30 or so on this at the time of this particular video. And so I could be doing more damage if I had it at level 50 or something, but at any rate, this will, because of the high attack speed, your Taeguk will charge up in no time. I mean, in a couple of seconds, you're at the top of the Taeguk, which is great. Then also we've got the Gogok of Swiftness. The key thing of the Gogok of Swiftness is that it will give you higher attack speed, and then we've got Bane of the Trap to do more damage against the enemies that we're blinding. So now I'm going to go to the Rift. Okay, so here we are. This is in Greater Rift 44. Basically, you know, what you can see, the play style, it's just go into a room or an area, you know, put the exploding palm on the monster, attack, and release your flurries, blinding things to do, because while they're blinded, you're going to be dealing 20% more damage. Um, you can see there that I skipped past the elite pack there to get into this room with lots of juicy morsels to blow up with. The flesh is weak. Um, you know, I ended up in this particular, at the beginning of this particular rift, I wasted some time on an elite. Um, so as you can see, I'm a little bit behind already. Um, and I missed the beginning of this because the clip cut off because I spent too much time there and ended up not being able to finish the rift in time. But what you can see through this video, I hope, is that I can evaporate an entire room of monsters, or you know, what this build is capable of doing. It's going to allow you to deal lots of DPS. You can see here we're against this elite, and again, I'm wasting time here, but just trying to show you can go against an elite. I only have, I think, I don't even know if I have any bonus damage to elite in this build right now because I've got no Ring of Jordan on, no Ring of Unity, and remember too, I have no follower here. This is just me. So, you know, the fact is that's what this build lets you do. You can go without a follower. Now, if I was in a group, obviously, I can sit there and add the flesh is weak to the monsters through the exploding palm flesh is weak, and that's going to increase the DPS of everyone in the party by 20% because those monsters take 20% more damage. So this isn't just a do lots of damage type build, it's a support build as well. You're able to get in the middle of the monsters, draw their aggro, put debuffs on them, and deliver lots of DPS and not die, which is nice. You can stand in the middle of just about anything with this build. You can teleport out of just about anything. You're never going to get frozen, you're never going to get stunned, you're never going to get feared ever, because Epiphany has 100% resistance to all control. So you're pretty mobile and very survivable. The times you're going to die, it's going to be when it's your fault because you let Epiphany, or I'm sorry, you let Serenity down, because we're basically, you know, you can see that I'm chaining Serenity here. And most pylons, you're just going to laugh at them because you're like, the pylon's like, you have increased cooldown. You're like, no shit. I have increased cooldown. I already knew that. Or you get the one that's like, you have increased movement speed. It's like, great. You know, because Tempest Rush is a pain in the ass when you're going 4 times the regular movement speed. Or when you get the one that says, you're impervious to damage. You're like, no shit. Of course I'm impervious to damage. What the hell did you think? I mean, pretty much the only pylons you even want to get to bother with is obviously the DPS ones. So 400% damage or the conduit pylon. And even then, you know, it's really only going to help you a whole lot against the elites. You can see there I was able to clear that elite pretty good, but the best way to do it is if you can get the elites to follow you into a room full of monsters so that when they all explode, then you're killing the elites along with those monsters. Now, you might wonder, why not try Impending Doom here? Because Impending Doom would do a hell of a lot more damage, especially considering that we've got 40% bonus to cold damage. And that's true. When it explodes, it will do more damage. But what this does is it gives you 20% more damage to your Tempest Rush, which when you especially when you release a flurry, which can crit for, 2 billion, okay? That's an extra 200 million in damage on a 2 billion crit, um, when you have the Flesh is Weak on there. Okay, the other thing the Flesh is Weak does is it does bleed damage over time, okay? And that might not seem all that important. It's like, well, when you get the chain reaction from Gungo Gear, like, but see, we don't have a problem with chain reactions with the Flesh is Weak. It does just fine chain reactioning on these things. Now, maybe sometimes when you get to some really hard mobs, it has trouble, but most of the time it's really effective. And then it's way more useful than Impending Doom when you're actually fighting an elite solo, because Impending Doom does nothing for you when you're going against one or two monsters that are tough. Like here, if I'm fighting these two high hit point monsters, I'm actually killing them 20% faster from Tempest Rush plus the bleed damage. So it's actually better than 20% faster at killing bosses and elites and champions and stuff like that. So, and the reason I went to this build as opposed to, say, a lightning build, because with lightning, with the chain lightning exploding palm, you can do a hell of a lot of room clearing because it chains a lot better. But the problem with that is you just don't have the damage against elites. You just don't have the big heavy hitter that you have with Tempest Rush Flurry. I've tried it with holy damage. Well, with holy damage, the nice thing with that is you get 500% flat on your Tempest Rush. But honestly, over time, Flurry is still better. It's the best rune for Tempest Rush. I think everyone pretty much accepts that at this point, at least for the higher glyphs. I will say that the lightning rune version of this build is a lot of fun. And if you're wanting to get through, adventure mode bounties, the lightning rune will, with the wide radius on Tempest Rush, will just mow through everything. Like, it just one hits everything. It's insane. And so it's maybe even faster than this build for that stuff. But, when you're at the higher level glyphs, what you need is you need some way to increase your DPS and against the tougher monsters. And this build is the best way I could figure out to do it. And I could be doing better. I mean, I don't even have the ideal stats on my gear. I could have more crit damage, and that would really help a lot. I could have more damage against elites. If I had the right Ring of Jordan, or Stone of Jordan, if I had the right one, and I ran with that, then I might even be able to clear one of these level 46 rifts in time. Because my problem is here, I'll get to the Rift Guardian with 4 minutes left, but even then, like, it takes me like 6-7 minutes to kill him. So I'm still not optimized here, on level 44 Rift. I still haven't figured a way to, get that boss kill under 4 minutes. But you can see here, I'm like standing in the middle of a bunch of beams. Honeybadger doesn't care. Honeybadger's just la la la. Of course, I got a little arrogant here running around in the middle of these things, and I probably forget to push X here in a minute, and I died. There is that split second, and you could definitely die in it. Just have to be really careful because, if you're standing in the middle of 3 arcane beams and 4 elite enemies blow up around you, that's what it takes to kill this build.